Listen carefully. If you ever hear children laughing inside an empty school after dark, don't go looking for the source. I know curiosity gets the better of people. I know your brain will try to explain it away. Maybe pipes, maybe students sneaking around, maybe your imagination. But if the laughter suddenly stops the moment you start walking toward it, leave immediately, because some sounds aren't meant to lead you somewhere. Some sounds are meant to see if you'll follow. My name is Daniel Reeves, and 3 years ago, I worked as a night janitor at an old middle school in northern Illinois, Hollow Creek Middle School. Small town, quiet area, the kind of place where everybody leaves by sunset, especially during winter. At the time, I had just turned 32, divorced, broke, trying to keep my life together after losing my warehouse job. The janitor position wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to survive. Most nights were simple. Clean classrooms, take out trash, lock doors, go home around midnight. Nothing strange, at least not at first. The school itself was old, built sometime in the late 1960s. Long empty hallways, flickering fluorescent lights, old heating pipes knocking inside the walls. Honestly, the place already felt creepy during the daytime. At night, it felt worse, especially the East Wing. Teachers hated staying there after hours. Students avoided the second-floor bathrooms completely, and substitute teachers constantly complained about hearing noises in empty classrooms. I didn't believe any of it. Until the night, I stayed late during winter break. December 27th, snowstorm outside. School completely empty for the holidays. No teachers, no students. Only me and one security guard named Walter. Older guy, probably in his 60s. Worked there forever. Quiet type. The kind of man who always looked nervous after dark. Around 9 p.m., I was cleaning lockers near the East Wing when Walter suddenly appeared beside me. Didn't even hear him walking up. "You finishing upstairs tonight?" he asked. I shrugged. "Yeah." "Why?" Walter hesitated for a second, then quietly said, "If you hear laughing, ignore it." I laughed a little. "Seriously?" But Walter didn't smile. He just stared toward the dark hallway behind me, then added, "And don't open room 214. That should have been the moment I paid attention. Instead, I thought the old guy was messing with me. Big mistake. Around 10:15 p.m., the storm knocked power out across half the building. Only emergency lights remained on in most hallways. The school suddenly felt massive, empty, wrong. I remember standing alone beside the stairwell, listening to the wind outside. The whole building creaked softly, pipes knocking somewhere in the walls. Then silence, complete silence. And right in the middle of that silence, I heard it. Children laughing, faint, somewhere upstairs. I froze immediately. The sound echoed softly through the hallway. Not loud, not aggressive, just normal childish laughter, like kids joking around during recess. At first, I actually smiled. Probably teenagers sneaking inside during break. Wouldn't be the first time. I grabbed my flashlight and headed upstairs. The second floor hallway was darker than the rest of the building. Only every third emergency light still worked. Long shadows stretched across the floor. Classroom doors lined both sides of the corridor. And somewhere near the far end, I heard the laughter again. Shorter this time, then suddenly stopping. Like whoever made the sound knew I was listening now. School's closed. I shouted. No response. I started walking toward the East Wing slowly. That's when I noticed something strange. The temperature dropped hard, way colder than the rest of the building. My flashlight flickered once, then again, and somewhere ahead, a classroom door creaked softly open by itself. Room 214. Walter's warning instantly replayed in my head. And don't open room 214. I stopped walking. The classroom door sat halfway open now. Darkness inside. Then, a child laughed quietly from inside the room. Every hair on my arm stood up. "Okay, not funny," I called out. Silence. Then I heard whispering. Several children whispering softly together inside the classroom. Too quiet to understand. I slowly approached the doorway. The cold became unbearable near the room, like stepping into a freezer. My flashlight beam shook slightly as I aimed it through the opening. Empty desks. Old chalkboard. Nothing unusual, but something felt wrong immediately. The classroom looked older somehow. The desks weren't arranged the same way as the other rooms. The walls looked faded, and there were no modern computers anywhere inside, like the room belonged to another decade entirely. Then my flashlight passed across the chalkboard, and I froze, because written across it in large, uneven letters were the words, "We stay after the bell." Cold rushed through my chest. The laughter suddenly came again, much louder now, directly behind me. I spun around instantly. Nobody there, but all the hallway lights flickered together. And during that brief darkness, I heard children running through the corridor, fast footsteps echoing all around me. Then silence again. I backed away from the classroom slowly, breathing harder now. Nope. I turned toward the stairs and stopped cold because halfway down the hallway, a child stood staring at me. Small boy, maybe 10 years old, old-fashioned school uniform, head slightly tilted, and his face looked pale gray beneath the emergency lights. For a second, I honestly thought a real child had somehow gotten inside. Then the boy smiled, too wide, too slowly, and using a voice that sounded wet and broken, he whispered, "You're late for class." My chest tightened violently. The hallway lights flickered again, and suddenly, there were more children standing behind him, one by one appearing along the hallway, silent, motionless, watching me. At least 15 of them, different ages, different uniforms, all smiling. Then every classroom door on the second floor slammed shut at the exact same time. Boom! The sound shook the entire hallway, and somewhere behind me, inside room 214, a teacher's voice calmly said, "Take your seats, children." The second I heard the teacher's voice behind me, every child in the hallway slowly turned toward room 214 together, still smiling, still completely silent. My body locked up. Then one of the classroom doors nearby creaked open by itself. Inside, desks slowly scraped across the floor, like invisible students pulling out chairs. The teacher's voice echoed again from room 214. Class is beginning. The children started walking, not running, not rushing, just slowly moving down the hallway toward the classroom. And the sound their shoes made against the floor didn't sound right. Too soft, almost wet. I backed away toward the stairwell immediately, heart pounding so hard I could barely think. As the children passed beneath the emergency lights, I started noticing details. Some of their clothes looked burned, some looked soaked, and a few had dark stains spreading across their uniforms. One little girl walked past holding a melted lunchbox against her chest. Another boy's jaw hung slightly crooked like it had been broken, and none of them blinked. Not once. I whispered, "What the hell?" Then suddenly, one child stopped walking. A little boy near the end of the line. He slowly turned his head toward me, and in a quiet, trembling voice, he asked, "Are you staying for the lesson too?" Every light in the hallway flickered hard. The temperature dropped again. Then all the children started laughing together. Not loud, not normal. A low, broken laughter filling the hallway from every direction. I ran, straight toward the stairwell. The laughter instantly stopped, and behind me, I heard running footsteps. Dozens of them, fast, children sprinting down the hallway after me. I slammed through the stairwell door and nearly fell down the stairs. The emergency lights inside flickered weak red now, and somewhere below me, I heard Walter shouting, "Daniel!" I almost cried from relief. "Walter!" I rushed downward toward his voice. But halfway to the first floor, I stopped suddenly, because Walter's voice was now coming from above me too. "Daniel?" My stomach dropped instantly. 2 different directions. Same voice. The one upstairs sounded wrong somehow, slightly delayed, like something learning how to copy him. I slowly looked upward and froze. A figure stood at the top of the stairwell, wearing Walter's security uniform, but standing completely motionless in darkness, its face hidden. Then it smiled, too wide. My blood turned ice cold. The real Walter suddenly grabbed my shoulder from below. "Don't look at it!" I nearly screamed. Walter pulled me downstairs fast. "What's happening?" I shouted. The old guard looked terrified. Room 214 opened again. That sentence made no sense. What do you mean again? Walter shoved the first floor stairwell door open. Move! We rushed into the main hallway. Emergency lights flashed weakly overhead, and somewhere upstairs, children were still laughing. Walter locked the stairwell behind us immediately. His hands were shaking badly. I stared at him. You knew about this? Walter avoided my eyes, then quietly said, 23 years ago. He swallowed hard. There was a fire in the east wing. Cold spread through my chest. What kind of fire? Walter looked toward the ceiling. The classroom doors locked during after-school detention. My stomach twisted instantly. No. He nodded slowly. Teacher and 16 students. The hallway lights dimmed lower. Walter continued speaking quietly. They never made it out of room 214. I felt sick. Then why is that room still there? Walter's expression tightened. Because the school never tore it down. A loud bang echoed upstairs. Then another, like classroom doors slamming open one by one. Walter grabbed my arm. We need to leave. Now! We hurried toward the front entrance. But halfway there, the school intercom suddenly crackled to life. Static filled the hallways. Then a calm female voice echoed through the building. Attention, students. Walter froze instantly because the voice sounded burned somehow, cracking beneath every word. Detention has now begun. The lights shut off. Complete darkness swallowed the school. Then came the laughter again, right beside us. Children whispering all around in the dark. I turned on my flashlight immediately. The beam shook violently. Hallways stretched empty ahead. But muddy footprints suddenly appeared across the floor. Small footprints. Wet, burned into the tile like black ash, leading toward us. Step, step, step. My breathing became uneven. Then, a classroom door slowly opened nearby. Inside sat children at desks, motionless, their backs facing us. And at the front of the room stood a woman beside the chalkboard, burned black silhouette beneath flickering lights. The teacher, her head slowly turned toward us, and I saw a part of her face hanging melted down one side. She smiled anyway, then softly said, "You're interrupting class." Walter pulled me backward immediately. "Don't answer her." The children inside the classroom suddenly began tapping pencils against their desks together. Tap, 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 faster, louder. Then every child slowly turned around in their seats. Their faces, God, their faces looked burned almost beyond recognition, except for the smiles. Those smiles stayed perfectly clear. The teacher pointed directly at me. "New student," she whispered. Every child stood up at once. The lights exploded overhead, glass raining across the hallway, and the children rushed out of the classroom screaming with laughter. We ran, straight toward the gymnasium doors at the end of the building. Behind us, small footsteps pounded across the hallways. Dozens of them. Walter shoved open the gym doors and slammed them shut behind us. Darkness filled the massive gym. Only moonlight from high windows lit the floor faintly. We both stood there breathing hard. Then suddenly, basketballs started bouncing by themselves somewhere in the dark. Slowly, one bounce at a time. Thump, thump, thump. Walter whispered. They spread when someone notices them. What does that mean? Before he could answer, a child's voice echoed across the gym. Why did you leave class early? Then another voice. We waited for you. Then dozens more, whispering from the darkness around us. The basketball bouncing stopped. Complete silence. And right then, the scoreboard lights turned on by themselves above the court. Bright red numbers glowing in the dark. 16-1. I stared upward confused, then realized what it meant. 16 students. 1 teacher. 17 dead. The scoreboard buzzed loudly. And one by one, the number 1 slowly changed. Into 2. Walter's face went pale instantly. Something grabbed his ankle from the darkness beneath the bleachers. Walter screamed and fell hard. I rushed toward him, then froze. Children were crawling out from beneath the bleachers. Dozens of burned little hands reaching through the dark. Walter kicked desperately trying to pull free. "Run," he screamed. One child slowly crawled halfway into the moonlight, its face blackened from burns, eyes completely white, and smiling, always smiling. Then it spoke using Walter's voice perfectly. Don't leave me alone. I backed away shaking. The gym lights suddenly flashed on for 1 second, and I saw the entire gym filled with children standing silently around me. Hundreds of them. Then darkness again. Walter screamed one last time. Then silence. I ran, straight through the emergency exit doors into the snow outside. I didn't stop, didn't look back, just kept running across the empty parking lot while the school alarm screamed behind me. Police searched the building later that night. They found no sign of Walter. No blood, no footprints, nothing. Officially, he disappeared. The school closed permanently the following year. Demolition crews refused to work after dark. And during the final inspection, before demolition, one contractor reported hearing children laughing from the second floor, specifically from room 214. The building was torn down 3 months later. But the weird part? The empty lot still has school lights that randomly turn on after midnight. And according to local police, people driving past late at night sometimes report seeing children standing together in the snow, waiting quietly, like they're expecting class to start again. Smiling face with horns if you made it this far. Comment, I would never stay after the bell school. And remember, if you ever hear children laughing inside an empty school after dark, don't go looking for them, because some classes never end. Thumbs up like the video if it gave you chills. Speech balloon comment your scariest moment below. Bell subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next story might be even darker than room 214. Smiling face with horns.